I hope you've had a chance to work with the problem presented in this workbook. I'd like to now show you how I would solve it. And again, my sample file is Chapter 5 Challenge, and you can find it in the Chapter 5 folder of the exercise files collection. The first task is to go to cell F2 and calculate the covariance between the values in the customers and sales columns. So in F2, I'll type an equal sign, and I will start typing covar. And because you can never be sure that you have all of your data, I'm going to use covariance.s, which assumes that we have a sample. So I'll highlight that, press tab, and now I need to identify the two arrays. The first one is customers, and those values are in A2 through A12, then a comma, and then sales, which are in column B, so B2 to B12, I've selected there. Right parentheses and enter, and we get a covariance of 4023.16. How you interpret that covariance value depends on your original data. In this case, it does appear just from visual inspection that the number of customers and sales tend to covary together, and 4023 is about twice the maximum value in the sales column, so that's a good indicator that there probably is a relationship. Now let's do a correlation for the same two data sets and see what that does. So I'll go to cell F4, type an equal sign, and we'll have Correl, C-O-R-R-E-L. And again, array 1 and array 2. Array 1 is A2 through A12, then a comma, and then array 2, B2 to B12, right parentheses and enter, and I get a correlation of customers and sales of 0.84, and that is very high. Remember that correlation varies between -1 and 1, with a value of 1 meaning that the values are perfectly correlated. And in a case where you have a value of 0.84 with only 11 data points, that's a very good indication that there is a correlation between those two sets of data. Finally, let's go ahead and create a grid that calculates the correlation for each pair of columns. So I'll start by clicking on cell G8, and I want to create a formula that will calculate the correlation of the customers column, column A, with itself. And I'll be able to copy that formula throughout the rest of the grid and find correlations between every pair of columns. So in G8, I'll type equal, and then Correl, C-O-R-R-E-L, left parentheses, and array 1 is A2 through A12. However, with the way I'm creating my worksheet, I don't want that reference to change when I copy the formula. So I'll press F4, and that makes the entire reference absolute and unchanging. Type a comma, and then I'll select A2 through A12 again, right parentheses and enter, and I get a correlation of 1, which, as I mentioned earlier, is correct. I'm comparing customers to itself. Now I will double-click cell G8 and copy the formula. So remember, I have copied the cell's formula text. I have not actually copied the cell. So it is important that you not just click a cell and press Control-C. So I've already copied the values, and then press Escape to stop editing the cell. Double-click cell G9, press Control-V to paste the text. And now, because I want to change the absolute references from A2 to A12 to B2 to B12, I will edit the first range reference. So I have B2 to B12. And because I'm comparing customers to sales, I will leave A2 to A12 as the relative references unchanged. Press enter, and I get a correlation of 0.842, which we can see is correct because it matches the calculation we did earlier in cell F4. Now I will double-click cell G10, press Control-V. There's my formula again, and I will do the same thing for the first array, except this time I'm changing it to column C, returns. So C2 to C12, comparing it to A2 to A12, press enter, and I see a very slightly negative correlation, but that is very close to 0. Now I can copy the results of these three formulas over to cover columns H and I. So I will select G8 through G10 and drag the fill handle to the right until it covers the same rows in column I, and there I get the values. And it looks like everything is correct because I have customers and customers at 1, sales and sales at 1, and returns at 1. And I can see also that sales and returns do not appear to be correlated. A correlation value of 0.126, let's call it, is very small. So it appears that the only meaningful relationship, at least from a correlation standpoint that I have, is between sales and customers per day.